The Norvin is a wonderful bike to ride. One of the things about it is you can experiment with the brakes and the carburation and the electrical systems. So this bike has much better brakes than a standard Vincent. It's a 12-volt system, electronic ignition, modern carburetors, and so it starts, idles, and runs considerably better than just a standard Vincent. But the standard Vincent's a good bike too. I've built several of those too, so I know the difference. This has a modern, semi-modern frame. It's a Norton Featherbed frame, and so the handling characteristics of this bike with the shocks and the front end shocks and rear shocks are comparable with fairly new motorcycles now. And so it's a lot of fun to ride. Stops good, starts good. Has acceleration properties that are not like modern Japanese bikes, but for a 50-year-old bike, it accelerates quite well. My name is Larry Horn. This is Huntington Beach, California, and this is my Norvin. I finished this Norvin about 2-3 months ago. I acquired the engine to this Norvin about a year ago. I had to rebuild the engine. It was a B-series Rapide engine with no frame. And so I had to make a decision of either building a non-matching Rapide or a Norvin. And I gravitated toward the Norvin. It's a lot more fun to build. The value is probably about the same. This is a GPS system, a speedometer. It's an analog speedometer with a tachometer. The tachometer, it takes off of the ignition system. The GPS has a little remote antenna, and so this works out real good on this bike because I don't have to consider the ratio and putting a mechanical drive up with a mechanical speedometer. This works out great, and it does a lot of different things. I mean, it tells you altitude and direction and all that. This is a dampener for the front end. It's just a friction dampener, not a hydraulic dampener. This is a front brake lever, and it is a compensating brake lever because it's a 4-leading shoe front brake. So this is like a teeter-totter or a seesaw that adjusts for differences of brake pressure. The other side has a clutch. And the clutch is in this engine is a Ducati clutch. It's very smooth. It's a linear progression clutch, very nice clutch. And then here is the compression release. And this is, you have to have a compression release on one of these big engines, otherwise you don't start it. There's a trick to starting these engines, and it requires having a compression release. The tank is a temporary tank. This is a fiberglass tank. I'm working on an alloy tank, but I got in a hurry. I wanted to ride this bike, so I bought a pre-made fiberglass tank. And it's worked out okay, but it's not going to stay. This tank will leave, and I'll put a alloy tank on it. This rear section you can get all day long off of the internet, and so I just used the fiberglass part. I have a friend that's in upholstery business. He made me this cover, and I snap it on, and you can unsnap this here, and underneath here is where I keep my paperwork to the bike. So, because there's no tool chest on the bike, so my paperwork is right under here. This is in reference to Bib. He was the Norton guru, and unfortunately he passed away, but a super nice guy, and a lot of us guys are putting this on as a reference to Bib, as a tribute to Bib. Front shocks are Norton road holders. They're real Norton road holders. The headlight is a Lucas. It's a real mule stock Lucas headlight. The front brakes are pretty curious. They're a 4-leading shoe, and it's a copy of a TZ Yamaha, and they're great brakes. I just love these brakes. They have a DIT alloy rim and stainless steel polished spokes. Exhaust is stainless steel, reproduction Vincent exhaust. Engine, I had to rebuild the engine, which has some modern valve guides in it with seals, new valves, new pistons, timing gear, new timing gear, main gear. So everything's internally and also the camshafts are from Megacycle cams. They're stage 2 cams, so it's a real good camshaft company. The ignition system is a Pizzone. It's electronic ignition. Good part about this is it's timed, when it's sitting here like this, it's timed at 0 degrees, where you can start the bike pretty easy, won't kick you over the handlebars, but as soon as it starts, it goes to about 5 to 7 degrees, and then after a few RPMs, it'll come up. The transmission is a Vincent transmission, 4-speed. You can get these transmissions now 5-speed, but this is just a 4-speed. Carburation is Mikunis. They're flat-slided Mikunis, and these are 36 millimeter, so that it's been opened up a little bit. These plates, I made these plates myself. These are adapter plates that allows you to put a Vincent engine in a Norton Featherbed frame. The rear sets I made myself. I just took some cardboard and cut out what I wanted, and then cut out the aluminum plate and had them polished. I'm still working on these. I think I want to put some holes in here to lighten this up a little bit. Anyway, it's good temporary. The frame is a reproduction Norton Featherbed wide line frame. You have to have a wide line in order to set these engines in. Slim lines won't work. And another thing, this frame has not been cut. Some people cut the frames and extend them to put the engines in. This one doesn't. This one, it fits in. It's real close up here, but it still works good. Have a AGM battery, mounted it flat, and it's a pretty large battery. And the electrical system is Alton 12 volt. It's a 12 volt system. I have the alternator here, and there's a rectifier, bridge rectifier voltage regulator underneath the seat here. So the electrical system is bulletproof. It's solid. This is just a Dunstall copy. You can get these anywhere. They're not. It's not really expensive, but I think they look good and they sound good on this bike. The rear brake is the same as the front brake, but it's a twin leading shoe. It's not 4 leading shoe. Made by the same people. It's a copy of the TZ Yamaha. These are Norton rear shocks, new Norton rear shocks. If I wasn't crazy enough to build one, I built 2. This was my first one. I've owned this bike since 1968, and over the years or decades I've revised different things and rebuilt the engine several times. I've got a million miles on this bike, but I recently have built this bike, and with the knowledge that I gained from doing all the things wrong on this bike, I tried to do most of the things right on this bike. There's some subtle differences between the two bikes. This one has a real 5-inch Vincent clock. This bike is GPS. Obviously the GPS is much more accurate, but the 5-inch clock is worth 10 times more money. But anyway, this is an old restoration, ongoing. I keep restoring this bike, but it's a nice bike. This is my bike. This one, I love this bike, and I've put a lot of time into it. But I've got years and decades into this bike, so this is just kind of my favorite all-time motorcycle. This bike is opened up a little bit. It's probably a little more hot rodish than this bike. The carburetors are 38 millimeter. The cams are a little hotter. The brake is the brake is a 4 leading shoe Gramica, and the rear is a Triumph Trident rear, which is not a real good rear brake, but it works good on this bike. Everything else is about the same. This one is a real Norton Featherbed Manx frame, whereas my green bike is a reproduction frame. I want to, one of these days, have a nice alloy tank like this on my other Norvin, but that's going to take time. I have the tank, but I haven't done any of the work internally in the tank, and it's going to take a lot of time. So otherwise, everything else is just about the same. They both run good. I enjoy riding them. This one doesn't have too many miles on it. This one here has got, I don't know, probably 60,000 miles on this bike from the time I've owned it. So a lot of heart and soul in this bike, and I'm sure I'll get to enjoy this bike also. So how many people got 2 of them? Just shows you how I enjoy pain.